Good evening. I'm Rhonda at Carnivore Leo, bringing you carnivore news that we can use from the community. Jen at Delighted to Meet You recently posted a video on her channel entitled Carnivore Diet Myths, where she discussed the common myths and misconceptions about the carnivore diet. I'm going to briefly cover 5 of the most common myths, and we'll link the studies related to those 5 in the show notes after the live stream. Myth number 1. Carnivore is not sustainable or healthy long term. There are many people in the carnivore community who have been doing carnivore for decades, and they are still thriving. Kelly Hogan and Dr. Lisa Wiedemann are 2 examples. They have both been on the carnivore diet for well over a decade, and there are many others like Dr. Anthony Chafee and Dr. Sean Baker who have been living this lifestyle for decades longer before it even had a name. So this automatically tells me that the carnivore lifestyle is sustainable. The reason it's sustainable, because it's a very nutrient-dense diet. When you eat only animal products, your body gets all of the vitamins and minerals it needs. Myth number 2, the carnivore diet will cause a heart attack or a stroke. This is probably the most common myth. Believe it or not, the evidence that's available has not consistently shown a correlation between high total cholesterol and especially high LDL in heart attacks or strokes. And there's definitely no data indicating a strong causation between those factors. Yes, LDL matters. However, the number of LDL particles you have is not what matters. It's whether or not those LDL particles have been damaged. When they're damaged, they become small, dense particles that can build up and create atherosclerotic plaques in your blood vessels. When they're not damaged, they're large and buoyant and fluffy particles that do a lot of good things for you. The way that LDL particles become damaged is by being exposed to glucose. So sugar and carbs are the problem, not the fat. The research does consistently show that high HDL and low triglycerides make you less likely to have a stroke or a heart attack. And both of those things are a result obtained from the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet is going to make you less likely to have a heart attack or a stroke. Myth number 3, the carnivore diet will cause gout. The truth is, inflammation, fructose, high insulin levels, and being overweight or obese are the top 4 things that lead to gout attacks. So if you don't want to get gout, avoid high levels of fructose, especially fruit juices and sweetened drinks with high fructose corn syrup. You also want to avoid anything inflammatory, such as industrial seed oils. Eating a low-carb diet like a carnivore diet is going to decrease inflammation, generally lead to weight loss, and it's going to keep your insulin levels low. This way of eating prevents gout. It does not cause gout. Myth number 4, you'll get scurvy. Some signs of scurvy are fatigue, weakness, bleeding gums, and excessive bruising. And scurvy occurs when your vitamin C levels are too low. It's true that there's not a whole lot of vitamin C in the carnivore diet. It's basically one of the only nutrients that's found mostly in plants. What's interesting, though, is that there are thousands of carnivores out there, and scurvy doesn't appear to be an issue. A reasonable explanation for why that is because vitamin C and glucose compete for transport in your body. If you're not having any carbs or glucose, then you can use up all of the vitamin C that you take in, and it does not have to compete, and you get to use it all. So vitamin C requirements in people who don't eat carbs are much lower. Myth number 5, you'll be constipated on a carnivore diet. It is commonly believed that fiber is necessary for normal, regular bowel movements. There is a study that states otherwise. The study is entitled, Stopping or Reducing Dietary Fiber Intake Reduces Constipation and Its Associated Symptoms. It turns out that fiber is not what's necessary for bowel movements. The amount of fat we eat is what we need to pay attention to. If your stools are on the hard, dry side, increase your fat intake. If they are loose, decrease fat a little bit. It's literally that simple. As stated earlier, I will link the studies that debunk these myths in the show notes. This has been carnivore news that we can use from the community. Thank you for watching and good night.